So because we're going to be solving absolute value equations and inequalities, we want to really make sure that we understand what absolute value means before we dive into the solution process. So if I give you something that says this, absolute value of 5, for example, and I know that 0 is right here, and suppose this is a 5 over here. So I'm asking you, what is the absolute value of this number 5? And all absolute value is the answer to the question, how far from 0 am I? So it's a distance question. So the absolute value always is, the absolute value is always your distance from 0. And in mathematics, distance is always positive. It's a positive number. If I say, how far from Yakima am I? I'm 20 miles from Yakima. We don't say, I'm negative 20 miles from Yakima. How far am I from Seattle? Negative 210. No. We don't use negative numbers to describe distances. So absolute value, the absolute value of an expression or a number can never be negative because it's answering a distance question. How far from 0 am I? So the answer to the question, how far from 0 is 5, is 5. 5 is 5 units away from 0. But notice if I ask that question about negative 5, what is the absolute value of negative 5? So negative 5 may be sitting right here. I'm asking the question, how far is it from 0? And the answer is still going to be 5, because negative 5 is 5 units away from 0. So the answer to an absolute value expression must be a positive number because it's answering a question about distance or how far something is from 0. So if you ramp this up a little bit and you put it kind of in an equation form, let's say I say I want to know when the absolute value of x equals 5. What I'm doing when I have something like this is I'm saying what values of x, what are the unknown values of x that are 5 units away from 0. And so I'm going to get two answers out of this. I'm going to get either x is 5 because 5 is 5 units away from 0, or I get a second answer, x is negative 5 because negative 5 is also 5 units away from 0. So this is kind of the simplest absolute value equality equation you can have. When is the absolute value of x equal to 5? The idea is you wind up getting two statements out of it. Either x is negative 5 or x is 5. Either of those two numbers are 5 units away from 5. And then what we want to recognize is if I say, when is the absolute value of x equal to negative 5? The answer to this question is never. It's never equal to negative 5. Why? Because absolute value is asking how far from 0 am I? And it's a distance question, and your distance from 0 is not negative. Ever. It's always a positive real number. How far am I? Doesn't have a negative answer. So I can be in a situation where the absolute value equation doesn't have an answer if the distance happens to be a negative number. So if I generalize this a little bit, I can be working with an algebraic expression. I can be asking the question, when is my algebraic equation k units away from 0? And k would have to be a positive real number, because I'm asking the question, when is this algebraic expression a distance of k units away from 0? It's a distance question. K has to be positive. So if this were 0 and k is a positive real number, k might be sitting over here on the real number line somewhere, and it's going to be k units away from 0. So I would get, hey, the algebraic expression can equal k, and if it equals k, it will be 5 units away from 0. But I want to recognize that not only is k, the real number k, 5 units away from 0, but the opposite of k would also be a number that is k units away from 0. So I would get a second possibility, or a could equal the opposite of k and also be k units away from 0.